Thank you so much. We are pleased, excited, most especially honored to be here with you again today as we get closer and closer and deeper into this work. I know that I get more excited. I have seen when we're out and about doing rounds and working with folks, that excitement bubbling up from our schools, from our facilitators, and we certainly hope that you've all made those connections that are going to be so vital to that relationship. All right, we're going to get started. I want to make sure that if you need access to the Wi-Fi, there's a Wi-Fi guest, it's the guest secure, and the password is White Waldo 1904. So just make sure that we'll try to pick that up. I hope it wasn't when you worked here.
No.
So again, my name is Diane Talo. I've seen almost everybody here. A couple of you are kind of newish faces. Glad to have you all back. We're all going to get to know each other so incredibly well. What I would like you to do right now is on the table, on everybody's table, there are a large number of cards. They are all throughout this room. There are many spread across the back table. What I would like you to do is find a card, and I would love for you to walk around the room to find a card. Please don't feel that you're restricted to those on your table. Find a card that exemplifies or allows you to tell a story about how you feel regarding the beginning of your journey with the schools that you're working with. Whether you work with your schools or not. So at this time, I'd like you to take a moment to go ahead and pick a card. There are like 30 on the back table as well, the long back tables. Walk around and share. Thank you. They're all. Was I going to say yeah, I don't okay. My first grade room. Look at this one. All right, friends, once you have found a card that you think will help you tell your story, find a partner whom you have not worked with yet. That might be challenging. Mixed up a lot.
Mark, I've never worked with you. How are you?
If you can hear my voice, raise your hand. Stay right where you are. Wow, there's a lot to talk about this morning. That's exciting. So the next piece is a little more challenging. I'd like you to think of a metaphor for where you'd like to take your schools next. I'd like each person to share, and then I'm hoping we can hear some of those metaphors. You do not need to use the picture. It's where you're going to go next. If it's part of that, that's fine.
That's my metaphor.
But like lighting the way, blazing a path. So how did and they both feel that now I think the thing was ready to blaze that trust. The project are there other elementary and all of the individual schools are coming together.
You can wrap up about the next 20 seconds. Thank you. I've never had a class as compliant as y'all are. Thank you so much. Who would be willing to share a metaphor that they heard from their partner? One? One? Two? Three? Thank you. One more. Four. Thank you. All right.
Okay, so I had the card that was all about remodeling, and that's what drew me, because right now that's kind of what this looks like. And then I just decided to continue that metaphor. So for anyone that's remodeled a house, you know that you get, or even build a house, right? You're in it, it's messy, there's those phases where you think, God, is this ever going to be done? I'm in chaos. And so helping the teachers understand and the principal that this mess is temporary, and what they're gonna come out with is structures that just are able to be sustained with just little tweaks here and there, and so that's right.
Thank you, Barb. And Donnie, you were number two, I think?
Okay, so one of my schools is actually called Green Meadow, and this particular school actually has a student population that carries a lot of at-risk, a lot of baggage for students and families and so on. And so one person actually said to me, "Welcome to the Meadow." And when that was expressed to me, I immediately had like everything like whoosh, attach that to everything that we do there, I think it will help the kiddos and the families do the very same thing. So,
Thank you. Number 3?
It's here. Maureen had, here's Maureen. Maureen had a mirror with a big hole in the middle, a smaller one up in the right-hand part. The big hole was caused because mainly there was no reflection going on. There was no looking at data. In her work, she's transitioning now. There's a little bit more that's going on, but there's still a smaller hole. And as she looks at it going forward, is mending that whole mirror and establishing a new piece.
Creating a complete place for reflection.
But I'm not the evil stepmother.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the meanest facilitator of them all?
Am I number 4? Thank you.
My partner has a road leading into the cloud. They're beginning to follow the road, follow the pathway. Things are a little murky, but they are looking forward to going through the cloud and coming out the other side.
That's a good one. So we know that for adults, the learning comes in the reflection, not in the absorption of information. So something like creating a metaphor is really powerful because it gives folks a visual image to latch onto. So think about what kind of metaphors might be helpful for your teachers and your principals as you move forward. Don't move yet. First of all, thank you. When you come back to your seats, I would love everybody to just scoop all the pictures into one little pile so I can pick those up. And if you could thank your partner and return to your home base.
Thank you. Sorry. Why phone today?
Oh, you are a rule follower.
All right, if everybody can settle on in.
Yeah, there's some drama there.
So much of what we've been learning as a group of folks, has been that just-in-time delivery, right? You're learning just enough for the next few weeks, just enough to get in and make that relationship get started, then just enough to take that next first step. So today, we want to make sure that you understand the purpose of why we are here together today. So if everybody could go ahead and read that. So let's read it together. Number 1, to identify your capabilities. How will I use my knowledge and skills? 2, to define your behaviors. What do I know how to do? So this is for you. So at the end of the day, we expect and we hope that you will feel that you more fully understand that facilitator's guide that we received the last time we were together. We're going to move through a big portion of it, and then we'll continue to move through that facilitator's guide and elaborate on what each of those steps are. And, oh, you can't kind of see that word. To continue to dive into our work. Please raise your hand if this idea of appreciative inquiry has intrigued you or inspired you to approach things a little bit differently with folks. It has for me. I am more excited about that learning than almost anything else. So I'm hoping that we can build that excitement. So the process we're going to use, we're going to do some information gathering. We're going to do some regional and whole group discussion. So in your little groups, or in some of us, they're big groups, but with our coordinators, we're going to get to share our expertise with one another. One of the things that we promised you is that you didn't have to do it all by yourself, and that we will build connections and opportunities for you to take important skills from each other. Engagement with deeper learning. We're going to dive more into the appreciative inquiry model and give you an opportunity to do a little planning forward. Okay, thumbs up if you're okay with all of that. Thank you. I'd like to remind us of the norms. They're on your table in papers and as well as in the table centerpieces. If everybody could take a look at those norms, please select one that you intend to be mindful of today. So turn to an accountability partner and just let them know what you think you're going to try to work on today. So we're going to whet your appetite a little bit. At the end of the day, you will be asked to write a headline that describes what we did today, what the news flash would be of our learning. So keep that in mind as we're talking together, working together, absorbing information, that at the end of the day, you're going to have to come up with a pretty concise summary. What questions might you have about that? Good. I would like to remind you of a couple of things that we are very intentional about when we organize our learning opportunities for you. The first is the triple track agenda. So we are always on track one. What you are learning present here in this room. What am I learning right now? Track two, what are the skills that we're trying to share with you in terms of facilitation, so that when you're working with groups of teachers at your schools, you've got some additional things in your repertoire. Many of you have more than what we're sharing, and we're counting on that. Track three, what might be the implications and applications for your work as you create high impact, high fidelity leadership opportunities? To refresh you, count on us to provide current and relevant information, model teaching strategies that you can use, shape a supportive learning environment, provide ample time to reflect and process, and be open to your questions. Read what we will count on you to do.
Participate actively.
You have to do
Not
it.
out loud. Let's do the
I
other
should
thing.
have got
Sorry, Diane.
Thanks for being willing.
She's there. You are there.
She's there for it.
Are there any questions or concerns about what we're asking of you today? Does anybody else need the Wi-Fi so they can use their technology? Make sure you've got that login. Okay. While we're here today, some of you will want to be following along with the presentation. If you would like to, there is the tiny URL. When you log into that, you'll have that. You can download it. Also be aware all the presentations are in Google folders and they are on our new website. So you'll have access to it lots of different ways. But if you want to follow along right here today, that's your easiest and most direct way to do so. The other thing, how many of you are tweeters? Do you tweet? Awesome. So we have our hashtag. We're reminding you of that. We'd love to see tweets related to our learning today or what you're excited about. So don't hesitate. HIL WMU. Yes, sir.
Could you give me the name of the website? You say it's live now. What is the?
Oh, that's coming later.
Okay.
Yeah. And right now, actually, I'm going to ask Laurie to come up because she wanted to address something in regards to this. Actually, we're going to probably all do that. So thanks for waiting patiently.
So Lisa, can you come up for a second? So Lisa's next on the agenda, and do you know how hard it is to make a surprise when the shared slides are out there for everybody? So, we have decided as coordinators that Lisa is deserving of a special award. So we created a certificate of excellence for her role in navigating myriad layers of bureaucracy while we are trying to build the HIL plane while flying it. And we have a special tool for you.
Oh, good.
And so this is a compass, and it says right on it all she needs to know to get from here to where we are getting to. All you have to do is set the compass on a map with the edge lining up with your destination and rotate the compass until the end matches north.
Okay.
And then you rotate the compass and map until the red pointer is aligned and you travel in that direction. So now, in case you want to know anything about how to get through Western Michigan's bureaucracy on how to get these people paid and how to do mileage and do contracts, now you have a new little tool.
So much.
Can we thank
Laurie, be careful. She's just going to set that compass to Key West. Okay. Sounds good right about now.
You guys are awesome. They make it sound like I'm doing everything, but these people are amazing. They're such a partnership of so many different organizations. Hopefully you guys feel that every time that we are communicating with you as well, because we have our name on this project, but it's everybody everywhere doing this project. So thank you so much for all of your hard work as well. So I do have the lovely privilege of helping us talk about, the next slide is the one that many people want to know something about. And that is that where are we with your compensation? That would be a good question. Unfortunately, I think my picture there kind of summarizes it to some extent. Here we are waiting still. So we are at a good place, but we're still not finished yet, unfortunately. The Grants and Contracts Office, as Laurie said, there's multiple layers of bureaucracy, but the Grants and Contracts Office is reviewing the final contracts with the ISDs. We are still, part of that is that we have some information coming back from either the ISDs or the LEAs that are employing you. And so I've communicated with all those business officials, and most people have that information back to me that has to be attached to the contract. But if you happen to, and I can actually speak to a few of you individually for your organizations to let you know that if you could just talk to your business official to remind them that maybe they need to send that information back to me, that would be helpful. I think I will seek you guys out individually to talk about that. I've been told by a telephone call from Pat Reeves yesterday. Pat's in the Dominican Republic working with her PhD cohort that works there, so she's been there all week. But she told me that she had communicated, yeah, poor Pat. Sure she is, yeah. So she told me that she had a call from the person in the Grants and Contracts Office that said that thumbs up and we should be ready to go. We should be able to get this stuff cranked out next week. So there we have it. So again, emphasizing, thank you so much for your patience on this. You guys, many people have been, you're working without pay, and that's not what we intended, but that's kind of the way that things have played out. So feel free to ask me individualized questions if you want to on that. I'll do my best to answer them. Many of you, if you're working already for an LEA, your pay is probably kind of just continuing on, or an ISD, you're continuing on. But if you're waiting to get paid by Van Buren or Ottawa or Kent, then you guys are the ones that are still hanging out there. So. The other thing that that Pat talked about last time was the mileage payments, and I had several questions about that emailed to me, and I was kind of, coming soon. So we have a plan figured out, and it basically we're expecting you to be responsible for the first 16 miles of your own, there and back. Okay, so if you live close to your school, you won't get compensated for driving directly to your school. If you live far, then you will. Okay, and then coming to these trainings, there's very few people that would live, super close within 16 miles to either this campus or WMU or Kent or wherever we've trained. So those mileages are calculated as well. So let me just give you, I'm just going to give you a little sample of what this looks like. The gal who's our business official, that our business person. Sorry, I gotta make sure I'm doing this right here. Oops, wrong. Where do I push to make it full screen on this? Okay, I'm not a Mac user. Upper left right there?
The green.
The green? Okay, yeah. Thank you. All right, so I don't know if you guys can see that very well. Is that how I make it bigger? Can I make it bigger there?
If you go to, or where it's
okay, there we go. Okay. So I'm there. All right, so this is kind of what it's going to look like. You guys, there's a little spreadsheet that we've calculated. And you guys will each have an individual one like this, okay? So anyway, we're calculating from your home and going to your school. And the gal that I have working with me half-time, she did all of this, and I so appreciate her work. So she's calculating the distance from your school for the number of times that you would be traveling there, okay? So this particular person's close enough within 16 miles of their school, so they're not going to get any mileage reimbursement for that. But then for mileage to the training, so calculating that it's this person lives within 16 miles of the Beltline, but they're 90 miles from the WMU campus. So they're going to get paid for 4 times 90, and the U.S. government rate for mileage is 0.545, which is quite, basically more than 50 cents a mile. So it's quite a lot, and it quite, once you multiply it out, it adds up. So this person would get $196.20 for their mileage from all the way through. So let me see behind that one. Okay. So it's two different portions here. This one is for the amount through June 30th. So this is what they would get paid at June 30th. And then this amount is from August to September. So we're going to cut you 2 checks, one through June 30th and one through September. And so the total for this person would be $245, okay? So another example, just quickly, would be that, so if somebody lives really far from their school, then this person would so if this person lives far from their school, and it's 48.2 miles one way, okay, so less than 16 miles, that means for the round trip, they get 64.4 miles paid, times 16 days traveling to their school, for a total of 1,030 miles at the 0.54 rate, so they're going to get quite a big chunk for their travel to their school, okay? So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. We tried to be fair in the way we did it. It does add up quite substantially, quite quickly, as you can imagine, because there's so much travel involved. So that's our plan. I do also just want to emphasize that that's our plan for this year through September 30th. So this person would get $1,152 for their mileage totals. So that's our plan for through September 30th. At that time, we're going to have to reevaluate the budget to some extent because our budget for this year is slightly changed because we didn't start doing everything in October. So this is our plan for this year. We're hoping we can maintain this level of payment for you guys for mileage for the future. You really won't have to do anything in order to apply for this mileage, other than we will need a W-9 form that's submitted for you, and I have that sitting out in the packet, or as a pickup packet, if you notice that. Because this is going to be paid directly to you from WMU, as opposed to if you're being paid by Kent or Ottawa or anybody else. Okay. So you need to fill out a W-9, and then if there may be some other piece of paperwork that I need to submit by June, but we'll address that later. Yes, Barb.
So even those of us working for ISDs need to do a W-9?
Yes, good question.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so this pot of money is coming directly from WMU. Okay. Now, there is something that kind of came up. Jenny Sell pointed this out. If you are already being reimbursed for travel by your LEA or your ISD, then there's two ways that we can handle that. One is obviously you shouldn't double dip, right? So one is that we can cut you the check and you can sign it back to your organization, which would be one way. Or the alternate way is I'm probably going to have to work it out with you individually with your ISD or LEA in order to pay them directly. Okay? Or add it to the contract for which you are being paid. That is an option too. And so that's something that we hadn't thought about until Jenny brought it up recently. So, great question. Anybody else have questions about that? Yeah.
So we don't need to track it, they're just gonna pay us for the 16 visits or whatever?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. Yeah, that's our plan, is to eliminate the whole need for you to submit your own, vouchers and all of that. We just kind of, it's gonna be like a one deal, okay? Now, the thing is that you may be traveling to your school more than once in a week, right? And that is true for some of you, if you're choosing to work that way. So that part, we're not paying for, you're right, we're paying for one visit a week, okay? Also, we're not, if you have missed some of the trainings, we will subtract that amount too. So if you did not, if you've been absent and you didn't travel here, we're not going to pay you for that. So we will kind of back it up with our attendance list for these trainings. Yes.
Are you counting for instructional rounds, driving for instructional rounds?
We counted to your school for instructional rounds, so not if you went to a different school.
And then if you went twice in 1 week and didn't go the next week, are you doing it by just log in?
Good question. We'll make sure there's at least enough. We won't necessarily match them up week for week, but we'll count the number.
13 times.
Yeah. We'll count the number, something like that. Okay.
Because of that stuff.
We want to make it as easy for ourselves.
Because some of the principals, like one of my principals doesn't want anybody coming in 1 week because they're starting MSTEP.
Sure.
So I'm going 2 times another week.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense.
okay.
Yeah. Other questions? There's our plan.
Please, I have one real quick, sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
I already work in our district, so
Yeah.
to me, going to school is not above and beyond, but maybe just for the training, is that something I should just work out with you?
Yes.
Or just note it on that
Why,
W-9?
how about this, since if you have a unique issue related to this, please feel free to send me an email. It's probably the best way for us to work it out. Okay? And then we can actually talk to each other on the phone if we need to. Okay. So there will be unique issues because you guys are all unique. Okay. I think I'm fairly good with that explanation. If you have anybody else, any other questions as we go, please feel free to ask. Okay? So, next on the list that I wanted to speak about is communication with the schools. So, hopefully you guys are beginning to feel like you guys are our representatives, the HIL Project representatives in your school. And that's absolutely the way we view you and the way we want you to view yourselves. So, and that obviously takes, we're getting there. Because the communication piece is a huge challenge for making sure that everybody hears the same thing, and making sure that, because my primary way of communicating has been with email, and we all know how we can skip over emails very easily if we're busy. So this is one of the important things that I would like you guys to take ownership of, and that is to help make sure the any communications that we're sending are being processed by your school leader, okay? There are a few unique situations for some of the big school districts in that they prefer to have their communications sort of layered through their district supervision, if that makes sense, okay? Grand Rapids is one example. Battle Creek Public, Townsend Public are the best examples, right? They don't want me just sending stuff to their principals. Too often they want to make sure the district sees it first and then it gets layered through or sifted down to their principals. So there's some of that needs to be navigated. But ultimately, I'm going to make sure that you guys are copied on all the communications that are sent to the schools or the district leaders. And then you'll have that knowledge, and then you can help process that information hopefully, okay? So I had given some access to this, some of these documents in this facilitator resource folder. Has everybody been able to access this facilitator resource folder? Okay. Right now I had it view only, and I don't know if that's causing problems for people. But I am going to try to adjust some of those sharing things as we go. But here's what it looks like if you haven't looked at it. And really it's just broken out by the different trainings. And you can see, so today's PowerPoint is in there. If you don't have that link, this would be an alternate way for you to go to today's PowerPoint. And then just some of the handouts that were in there as well that were being used today. They're all in that 323 training, okay? And then I also have just the other three important folders. One has all the stuff related to the employment compensation. So it has your list of people, and I hope that's okay that's shared with your telephone numbers are there. And your emails are there, okay. And then it has an attendance record. So if you have any disputes with my attendance record, please take a look at that, make sure that I'm accurate there. Okay, also I just have some information about critical shortage, the letter of agreement, etc. Down here I put the link to the work record that you guys are keeping track of your work on. So you have to actually go into it's just put into a Google sheet, or a Google document. So you have to go there and then click on the link in order to get there. I know at least one person contacted me about not having their work record show up, and would you raise your hand if you've had trouble with the work record seeming like it's processing your information? A few people have? Okay. All right, and I know, Michelle, I didn't answer your email, but I have to, so I'm going to have to investigate that a little bit. I've got it set up so that it should be emailing you back. If you submit something, it emails you back, okay? So that's your first clue if if things haven't gone right, if you don't get an email back, okay? Also, know that you can see the spreadsheet that has your work record, or the spreadsheet that documents the work record, I believe is in this folder as well. Also, I can't see it.
Down below, maybe link to work.
There it is. Okay, so this is whatever you enter in there ends up here. Okay, so you can actually go back and see your information as far as what, if you've been there and how many you've been there. So there's a Michelle. If Michelle doesn't mind me pointing out, but it shows the date, the timestamp, and when you did it, and then who you are and where you were and what you did. So nothing's private, people. So. But if we have, and if that's a concern, you let me know, because we can make sure that.
How often does that update from when we put it in?
Great question. I believe it's right away, but let's see what the most recent timestamp is, if I can spot it. I've got it actually alphabetized, so you're alphabetized. 321, 322, 320. Somebody just put something in Friday or today. Yeah. Today's Thursday? Yeah. Somebody was at their school this morning. Okay, or that's the timestamp when they put it in, that's not necessarily when they're in the school.
It was memories.
Sorry. Yeah, that makes sense. There's today. It's like, wow, okay. So yeah, timestamp is different than the day that you're in there. Okay, so all of that information is there. You know, Dorothy's got her group broken out here. I think Laurie's got her group broken out here. So if there's other things that you, so in there also is what I was speaking about, the principal and district communications. These are various communications that have been sent to principals and other various things that could be useful to you in communicating with your principal, okay? Any questions that you guys have about that stuff?
Later this afternoon, Tom's going to share our website, and our hope is there is a space for a password-protected space for all resources, not only for team members that you are facilitating with, but a site for you and a site for coordinators. So that would be the place that you could click on a link to go right to these folders, and everything will be in one place. So you don't have a Google Home, another home over here, and that way. So
Yeah, there'll be multiple ways to get to it. Absolutely.
One place.
And then, and so in relation to that, there was a document, or excuse me, a Google form that was sent to your principal. And this is my first request in terms of communication with the principal. If you could help them make sure that this is filled out. And it's really very simple. And some of the information we have already in terms of their email and such. But the piece that I don't have from them at this point is two things. One, other district personnel that they might like to be part of their communication system. So if they would rather me send stuff to their secretary or their admin assistant or some other person that they've designated to be handling this communication, please let us know there, and then we'll add them to the communication list. Similarly, I would like to have, at some point pretty soon, I'd like to have the name of the teacher leaders that they're wanting to work with in their school. I'm sending out the registration link for the April 23rd summit next week. And so I wanted to be able to invite everybody individually. I may end up having to just send it to the school if I don't have all of that information, but that's okay. But that's the plan. And then there is a place here for other comments and things like that as well. So if you could help your principal fill that out, that would be wonderful if they haven't already.
Where's that again?
Okay, so I have that in, well, it's in this PowerPoint presentation is one place. The other place is that it was sent to your principal in an email.
Okay.
The third place is right in this folder that I put a link there, I believe. Yeah, in the folder of communication with schools. So, get back to the right spot. Okay, so in this folder with communication, principal and district communication, maybe I should put the word communication first on that, so it's an easy spot. But right here, link to school contact Google form. So one of those three places you should go. Okay. All right, my next little piece of the puzzle is talking about the is to talk about another thing that we need your help working with the schools with. And that is, and again, this communication was sent to them as well as district leaders about the documenting their stipend that's going to be given to them, as the plan for their stipend as well as their matching funds, okay? And I think Pat did some explanation about this in one of the recent trainings, but I'm just going to kind of reiterate all of this. In addition to your on-site support, right, that's the biggest piece, or most important piece of what the schools get from this project. The other thing is that they get $20,000. That's over the 2.5 years. The $20,000 is over the 2.5 years. So for this year, they get 17, 18, 8,000, 18, 19, 8,000, and then in 19, 20, they get 4,000. Okay? That's money for them to spend on new things related to literacy and leadership. Okay? So that's the only stipulation, is it needs to be spent in their school related to literacy and leadership. Okay? Similarly, they have to document that they have spent $20,000, and again, broken out into 8, 8, and 8, over that time period. They have to have spent their own money, okay, over of 8,000, 8,000, 8,000 of that time. It doesn't have to be their own school money. This could be district money that's been spent in their school, if that makes sense. Okay. So for example, you have your district has a literacy specialist that they have had working in your school. That portion of their time that's working in your school will count as their matching fund. If they had 31A funds that were designated to help their struggling readers, they could use that as part of their matching fund. Okay. The only stipulation is that it cannot be federal money, because federal money can't count as a match to the federal money, right? Since HIL grant is federal money. So that's the only problem. It can't be title money. Okay. It has to be state money or district money. So what I created is theoretically a simple thing, but not necessarily, of course. I've put in here 2 templates. Again, these are in your principal and district communication folder in that resources folder. I put in here 2 templates. Oops. I'm not doing so well with my clicking. Okay, this is a very simple spreadsheet designed to just be replaced with your school's information. When you access this, please make a copy. So then nobody's, working on this particular one. Please make a copy or print it or download it or whatever you want to do.
Hey Lisa, we're not able to hear you, so you're either going to have to bring that up.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I sound really loud to myself.
Or maybe the other microphone. Yeah, you might up there, but way back here we can't.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for letting me know. Okay. So
I think it's all the way up on the thing. You just have to either bring the microphone up to your mouth closer or...
Okay, I sure will. Okay, sorry. Yeah, can you say better? Or is it just not working?
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, okay. All right, so this is the template to be used to document the stipend. I made this to try to make it easy for the schools, but it doesn't have to absolutely be done in this format. But it's really just all that information, contact information, and then it says you may use your 8,000 discretionary funds to support literacy improvement and leadership development in the following categories. And then down below, it gives you some ideas on how to classify that, okay? So it could be professional development. It could be classroom resources. It could be paying subsidy costs for your teachers to go to a literacy event. It could be a stipend for your teachers in the summertime to come to a literacy event or a teacher, or even the HIL grant summits, because 2 of those are in the summer, and so teachers could get paid stipends to do that. Being a teacher, a recent teacher myself, I'm a proponent of that, so if you push that so that the teachers get paid for their summertime, that's always a good idea. So professional learning resources, any of that, and then any other expenditures that fall. Basically, if it's literacy or leadership development, it can be paid for by the HIL grant. Questions on that? Yes?
A PD day with lunch provided, is that a possibility or not?
A PD day with lunch provided. So you're suggesting that you guys create your own PD day?
Well, we're going to do that with the leadership team, and the principal would like to provide lunch.
Okay. I believe that the answer to that is yes. Let me check on that for you, Sarah, though, about the lunch, because as we know, the lunch things can be important. Yeah, we are, I think the answer's gonna be yes, though. Okay, but I'm gonna double check on that for you. Would you mind sending me an email with that question, so I don't forget? Let's see. So that's that. That's for the stipend, yes. He said, do you wanna know what the matching $8,000, how that's being spent? You want evidence of that? Yes, and that's the other document? Oh, okay. They're basically twin documents.
Would you do us a favor, and I'm almost 60 and can't hear, would you just repeat the question that the person has so we can all hear it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. You can see I've been stuck in the
Plus,
office
I'm
too long.
listening.
It's like to talk to a group of people. All right. Sarah, did you guys hear Sarah's question about providing a PD day with lunch? And my answer was, I think yes, but I'm going to double check. Okay. And so, in our resources folder, I also have a Q&A document. As people are sending me questions by email, I'm cutting and pasting them into that document. Most of the time, I'll say most of the time. So if you ask a question that could be relevant to everybody, I will try to put it in that space. Okay. Karen asked about the matching funds. Where would I document the matching funds? And so I have a separate document for that, which looks really similar. That's why I've got my little twin picture here, because it really looks very similar. And that can be slightly confusing. Quite honestly, it was a little bit confusing to me when I was trying to understand it in the beginning, because it's sort of like, well, wait a minute, these funds are being spent on the same things, okay? But what you want to think about when you're doing the match is, what would we be doing anyway? What are we already doing? Okay, what would have been spent in this school before the HIL grant stipend came along? And this is also where you can bring in your district resources, because obviously your district's spending money on your school. And so some portion of whatever the district is spending for a literacy consultant, that for the time they're spent in your school, well, some portion of some curriculum consultant, if they're spending time doing leadership or literacy activities that are directly relevant to your school. Okay, so the key words here are, it needs to support this cohort A school. You can't count the whole amount for the curriculum director, right? Only a portion for the cohort A school. And similarly, it needs to not be federal funding. That's the other little piece. This is where the not federal funding is really important.
We had a couple more questions in the room.
And then I'll be done. Yes. Tell me your name again.
Jen.
Jen Seeley?
Yeah.
Okay.
Has this been shared with principals as well, or is this just shared with us so far?
This was sent in a recent email to the principal.
Okay.
Back here, Cindy.
That was my same question.
Same question. Just share this right over here.
Can you guys tell me your names when you say ask a question, just so I can try to get you in. What? Tell me your name again.
Cindy Weber.
Cindy Weber. Thank you.
Jennifer.
Yes.
And can you reshare the Google folder again so I can, because I've searched it and can't find it, but if you can reshare it, then I can try to track it down to have these documents.
Sure.
Because I'm finding individual documents, but if you reshare that folder, then I can find it.
Right.
We've tried to make sure that in the presentation, every link is clickable. So if you go back to the presentation, you should be able to click on resource folder that she had as a link. Is it not working for you?
I'll find it.
Okay, because all of these documents are clickable.
Well, and I thought all the documents are being sent separately, but for ease, if I just have the folder, then I don't have to have
The folder is clickable too. If you go back to it should be.
Yeah, I did have it right here, Jennifer, right there. That's the folder.
That's what I'm looking for.
Marie? Can you clarify, are schools being front-loaded with this money, or do they have to spend their money, document, and then they're reimbursed?
Thank you for asking that question. You just summarized it. What you just said is the way it's. They require, before we release the stipend, the match has to be documented. Okay. And because of the late date in which we're doing this in this school year, we're kind of doing it all at the same time. But in following years, we will try to be a little more strategic in that they'll create a plan for how they want to spend their stipend. They'll submit their match that they've already made, and then we'll give them the money to spend to deliver their plan. Okay. Janice?
Two questions. Is there carryover money? Can you carry your money over from your year? Secondly, because we're less than, we're more than halfway through the school year, could the money be 488? 4,000, 8,000, 8,000.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Because we have such a shortened year this year, and they have so many things to think about.
Yeah.
I think it'd be much smarter to
Tough for them.
spend a little bit this year and be much more reflective about how you're going to spend $16,000.
Yeah, that is brilliant. I don't know if
Not really.
Well, no, it really is the way this has, this is played out, obviously.
I mean, you're
in the
talking
original plan. Let me discuss that with Pat, and I do not have an answer to that right now.
Just find out.
And I don't know if it's possible just because of the way budgets are created way ahead of time, et cetera, et cetera. So, but I really like that thought process.
Amendment.
Yes, yeah, I really like that thought process, and that might actually be a great strategy. Except,
For you.
that for some people may have already spent it, so it might have to be, maybe the carryover piece would be the ideal answer.
They're related.
Yeah. Okay, we'll discuss that, and I'll try to get an answer after that.
Maybe
Any other
one more,
questions?
and then we'll take other.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I've taken too much time.
Okay.
And really this is for Laurie as much. Laurie, you mentioned, I know, right? Just put you on the spot. So you were talking to me at Bellevue's Grounds on Friday about a plan that everything's got to be documented. Is this what you're talking about? Or does it have to be more expensive? Perfect. Okay, thank you.
I tried to make the spreadsheet as simple as possible.
Yes,
And then you guys just add in a line item for whatever you spend. Anything else? Yes, Marcia.
You could use state funds for the
You can use state funds. Because most of the literacy, much of the literacy money is state money as well.
My prior experience with grants at WNU has been such that we want you to spend the money and try to get that in that budget year. But there is carryover that occurs, okay? So you don't lose the money if you don't spend it by July. It's been my experience, but we'll make sure that that happens. The other part that I know is that you have to follow the district guidelines. So if the district does not allow food to be part of reimbursements, then that's not a choice that happens. What Western will do is pay the business office or whoever's doing this is what happens. And so you have to follow those guidelines. At least that's the way other WMU grant funds have been spent for these kind of grants. And I don't mean to.
No, I appreciate your input.
That's my knowledge from that as you go forward. But we'll get answers clearly for you regarding that. Margie.
Yeah, so are we talking about September 30th, that the 8,000 needs to spend carryover?
Well, we would like it spent by July just because your business people, that's their. But Janice brings up a good point to say we're trying to mop up a lot of things that fly, and so it might be more mindful. And what happens is your team's not going to meet till April 23rd, and that's going to be a big day that we'll have them talk about what they might be spending their money on. So we would like it to be spent by July 4th, just because your business people like that. But if it doesn't happen, just know that it's not going to go away, that it will be there to spend later as a.
Yeah, and for us, that's not a problem, because our budget does go through September 30th. All right.
Thank you, Lisa. And as always, if there are questions at break, or put them on a Post-it, and we will have a parking lot list, and we continue to add to that Q&A sheet that Lisa has. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
One of the things that we want to, can you hear me? Is this coming through? Okay. Gee, I don't know what's going on with our microphones today.
Can you set up front?
All right. Oh, there you go. All right, how's that? At church, they always turn me down too. It's like, we don't want to hear him talk. One of the things we want to do right now is to have an opportunity to gather up as our regents with your coordinators, so we can break a little bread together, learn more about each other, and that we can also have an opportunity to just celebrate and talk about your visits, the good things that have happened, go over that sheet on March 2nd. What questions do you have? What kind of things do we need to deal with in our smaller groups? And so one of the things we're going to ask you to bring with you is that Getting Started document that was in the March 2nd handout. It kind of looks like this. It's from March 2nd, and if you don't have one, no worries. There are some right out on the table that Lisa has provided for us. And so we'll be using, I think it's page 20, 17? Thank you. Page 17. The deeper dive work. Well, actually, it's 16, isn't it? Yeah. You're going to start on page 16. Okay? So we'll be using that, and then just bring something to record with when we meet. And the first thing we're going to do in our regional meetings is a team resume. And so your facilitator will lead this, but you'll come up with a team name that you will write on a chart. You'll make sure that all the team members and the schools that they facilitate are listed on this chart. You're probably going to have to write small. Any previous work experiences, it could be principal, it could be coordinator of a district, but this is where you get to be fun and say, I was a bartender, I was a waitress, I was a pin setter at a bowling alley, I was a cashier at Meyer. Okay, so we can capture some of the other previous work experiences. Special skills or talents of team members, okay? Again, these can be technical or non-technical, so maybe you're good at negotiation, maybe you're good at communication, but what are some of those special talents that you might have that you could include as well? Any team member major accomplishments, perhaps, you know, being, graduating your kids, or they've left the nest and out of your house is a special accomplishment in your life. So share what those are in your team. And finally, any personal hobbies or interests. This is where we want to find out what brings us together and meshes us together. Who are the gardeners out there? Who are our backpackers? Who are those people that like to travel and all of those pieces that are there in some way? So Dorothy's group is going to meet right up front here. My group's going to meet in the back. And then Laurie, Diane, and Dorothy will be meeting their group. I'm sorry, Dorothy's staying here. Jenny, excuse me, Laurie and Diane will meet groups right outside by their charts and take them to places that are in other parts of this building that you've never been before. And what should we say, 10:40? We want to give ourselves a solid 30 minutes, right? Okay. So 10:40, we'll be back in this room.
With team resume and the second part done?
Yes. Yes.
As
You
best
can
as we can.
Start with a team resume.
Yeah.
We're going to recap the other stuff in the afternoon, but you don't get to it in time.
Yeah. All right, clear as mud. What questions do you have? All right, see you back here at 10:40.
We're going to split group office 2 into 2 groups up here. So we'll do one part.